Good morning. This is MLS Basics. In this class, you will learn some basic skills in FLEX, our MLS software, and also learn a little bit about where the regional came from and what some of the rules are. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first thing you might say when you look at my screen is, oh, your screen looks different than mine. And the reason is because you can customize your screen. So if you go to your upper right corner where it says customize and click on that arrow, you're going to see one that says change layout. And if you click on that change layout, you're going to have all these different choices of what your screen can look like. I have selected the 3-column screen because I can see more in it. But you can easily select one of these others just by clicking on it, and it will make a change and come back. If you don't like that one, you can go back to customize, change layout, select a different one. And if that's still not the right one, you can continue this until you found the one that you like the best. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about Flex lingo. So their page or their home page, they call it a dashboard because each of their pages performs a different function. So you can see the pages up here in the upper left corner where it says home. And if you click on that arrow, I know most of you will have an MLS dashboard. And if you go to that MLS dashboard, you will see this first thing about your board, and the board is the Cape Fear Realtor board. And then you will also see MLS links. There are a lot of very, very good tools in this MLS links gadget that we're going to come back and talk about here soon. You're also going to have a market stats or can have a market stats dashboard. And if you don't have that dashboard, if you go back over here to the customize button and click on that arrow, you can add a dashboard. So if I click that add, well, it will ask you what kind of dashboard you'd like to add. So if I scroll down, I have a market stats dashboard, and you can click add dashboard and it will bring that to your list of dashboards. I'm going to return to my dashboard because I already have one, and we'll come back to that and show you what you can do with the market stats dashboard. What I want to start out with is saying that we are part of a regional MLS, and the region runs just south of the Outer Banks on the east side of North Carolina, east of 95. And it runs all the way down to the South Carolina line, with the exception of Goldsboro. There also includes Laurinburg, and also will include in the very near future. We just announced that Mid Carolinas will be joining us, and they are the board that represents Pinehurst, Southern Pines, Aberdeen in that section. So we look forward to having them at within our regional in the near future. So we have a lot of different associations at our table, and as a result, we also had to compromise with some of the fields. So for example, one of the fields we have is mainland or island. Well, to us in Wilmington, it may not mean very much, but if you're searching for properties in Ocean Isle Beach or Surf City, for example, you're going to have properties with an address of Ocean Isle Beach. Some are located on the mainland and some are located on the island of Ocean Isle Beach. So those associations wanted the ability to search whether the person wanted something on the mainland or the island for that city or that town. So that's just one brief example of how we have a lot of different fields that may not make much sense to you, but they do to somebody else. So the advantage of merging into a regional MLS, there were three. One was that there are a lot of overlap areas. If you think about Wilmington, we overlap with Brunswick County. We sell properties in Leland that are located in Brunswick County. And so do agents that are members of the Brunswick County Association of Realtors. In the past, we had different systems. So if you wanted to look at all the properties in Leland, you had to do a search on both systems, but you had to be a member of the other association in order to have access to their MLS. And that costs, if you were members of multiple associations, it costs extra money every month, plus the initiation of joining. So one big one is we have a lot of overlap areas, and it saved all of our members some money by not having to join. It also saved them time, because part of the rule of being a member of an MLS is that all of your listings have to be entered into that MLS system. So if you had a listing in Leland, you would have to enter it into the Wilmington or Cape Fear Realtor MLS and the Brunswick County MLS if you were a member there. You might have also been a member at Topsail. Even though the property is located in Leland, you would still have to enter it into the Topsail system. So you had to learn those multiple systems, plus take your time to enter those listings into those systems. So it saves a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of knowledge to not have to be an expert at more than one system. The other advantage is that back when the MLS was created with the National Association of Realtors, the MLS actually creates the compensation agreement among firms. So if you're a member of an MLS through your firm and another firm is a member, when you go to show their property, you don't have to ask them, hey, are you going to pay me if my buyer buys this property? It's already part of the agreement that each firm makes when they are members of the same MLS. So the MLS creates the compensation agreement among firms, so you don't have to negotiate that every time you go to show a property. That's a big deal for us being regional, because you might show a property in Topsail, and then the next week you might show a property in Leland, and they might be listed by agents that are in more than one association. So you don't have to negotiate with each of those firms to get paid to show that buyer that property. As a result, you also have to enter what your seller is willing to pay that buyer's agent. So the compensation agreement is based on the amount that you enter into the MLS that the seller signs when they complete their listing agreement. The last reason is that strength is in numbers. So when we were looking to improve our MLS system, to talk with a vendor about creating a system for you and get a top-notch system, you had to have a minimum of 4,000 members. And we didn't have that at Cape Fear Realtors. And none of our individual associations had that many members. So it made sense for us to join forces to establish the very best system we could at that time for the members that we had. We currently have over 8,000 members, so that's a big deal. Okay, so that's the reason why we're here in a regional MLS. So you no longer have to be a member at multiple associations to have access to listings that are listed by a firm that's a member of another association around us. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the different statuses. So if I go here to my quick search, I would have a list of the different statuses of properties. So if I click here, I've got all these different statuses, and I'm going to go through each one to let you know what each of them mean. An active status is one that is available for sale. So there is a listing agreement in place with a person that is going to market that property, and a buyer can come in and make an offer on that property without it being under contract with another buyer. So it is totally available. The next one we have here is coming soon. So this is a marketing ploy, you might say, when someone takes a listing, uh, the seller says, oh, I'm not quite ready to start showing it yet. I might need to finish cleaning up after a tenant moved, or searching through my closets to get rid of clutter, or finish painting a room. And so I want people to know that this house is coming on the market, but I'm not ready to show it yet. So the listing agent can put it in a coming soon status where there are no showings allowed, but everyone will know that the property is coming available. It cannot be in a coming soon status longer than 30 days. So that's a big rule. So if the work that your seller is going to be doing will take longer than 30 days, you won't want to put it in a coming soon status. There are other options for that. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. I would encourage you to go to the MLS links. There is a coming soon addendum there that is required by Keller Williams for you to attach to your listing agreement, that gives all the rules and the do's and don'ts about taking a coming soon listing. So it educates you as the listing agent, and it educates the seller to understand what you can and cannot do if you have selected a coming soon status. The main message with coming soon is no showings. So if someone comes and knocks on the door and says to your seller, oh, I live next door and my daughter's here visiting from California and she'd really love to see this house, that's all great, but you can't show it. You can entertain an offer, and the seller can accept an offer, but the buyer cannot see the property until it goes under contract. The next one we have here is pending. So we've got two pending statuses. We have one that's straight pending, and then we have one that's called pending with showings. Both of those mean that there is a contract that the buyer and the seller have signed that agree on terms that the buyer is going to purchase that property from the seller along with these terms in mind. So another buyer cannot come in and offer more money and knock that person out of their position. So it is under contract. It is not available for other buyers. A buyer can put in a backup offer. So if that original offer or contract fell through, then that backup offer would come into first place if the buyer and the seller agree upon terms ahead of time. Okay, then we have pending with showings. So pending with showings is still a pending status, but it means that the seller is still willing to show the property to any other potential buyer to encourage a backup offer. Or we see this a lot in new construction, where a builder might be building 5 different plans in a neighborhood, and one of them is almost complete or complete and is under contract. But they have another one just like it that's under construction, but you can't tell it because it's just sticks, right? It's being framed or it barely has a roof on it. And a lot of folks don't have that ability to have a vision when it comes to homes under construction of what they might look like. So the builder would say, you can look at this one, it's finished. It's just not available for sale, but it is under contract. But you could look at it and get a feel for what this one is going to look like when we finish that one. So we see a lot of pending with showings in the new construction world. Then we have closed. Closed is a status that means the buyer and seller agreed on terms, they fulfilled their obligations, and now the property has transferred ownership from the seller to the buyer, and the deed has been recorded at the courthouse. So it's a transfer of ownership, and that's your closed listing. The next one we have is an expired listing. So when you complete a listing agreement, you would have a start date and an end date. At that end date, when you enter this listing into the MLS, it will ask you, what's your start date? What's your end date? And you enter that end date. When that property reaches that end date at 11:59 that night, the MLS will automatically expire that listing. So that means you no longer have a written agreement with that seller to be their listing agent. We also have a hold status. So this is a temporary status where a seller or agent can pull the property off the market for a short period of time. We saw this a lot after Hurricane Florence, when some sellers had to put a new roof on or repair some damage or clean up the yard or whatever it might be. So that listing ended up being put on hold while that work was being done. And then it came back on the market when they were ready to start showing it again. Your days on market do not accumulate during the hold status, but it also does not get syndicated. So it's not being pushed out to the world as an active listing anymore. Then we have these last two that are withdrawn and canceled. So this is more of a permanent situation, but we have two different scenarios. So a withdrawn status is one where the seller and the listing agent agree that they're no longer going to market the property. The seller calls the listing agent, says, I don't want to sell my house anymore. Let's take it off the market. And the listing agent says, okay, Mr. Seller, that's perfectly fine, but just know we still have a listing agreement in place. So if you do decide to sell it during the period of time that our listing agreement is in effect, you would still owe a commission. So you're not releasing that seller from the obligation of paying you or you acting as their agent, but you've agreed to pull it off the market. Then there is the canceled. Canceled means that you and the seller have agreed to part ways. So the seller calls and says, I want to take my house off the market. I don't like working with you anymore. And you say, well, I don't like working with you anymore either. I'm going to let you go list with anybody you want, and we're going to cancel this agreement. Okay. So that's the difference. If you are shopping for a listing and you have been making phone calls to expireds, and that you can call an expired listing because that person is no longer under contract with another agent. You can call a canceled listing because that seller is no longer under contract with another agent. But you cannot call a withdrawn listing, because a withdrawn status is one that there is still an active contract between the seller and the listing agent. It's just not being marketed. So remember that. The Realtor Code of Ethics does not allow you to contact a seller or someone who is under contract with another agent. Okay. So those are our statuses that we have. I'm going to show you now where you would access the rules for coming soon. So if I go here to my home button and I go to my MLS dashboard, this gadget this little box with MLS links. The first thing on it says forms, and here is a coming soon addendum. And that coming soon addendum is what you would print or send in a DocuSign envelope or whatever when you're creating the listing agreement with that seller. And it goes into detail as to what all of you are agreeing to do. So the first thing it asks is, what is your delayed marketing date? So what is the date that it will be available to be shown? And again, it can't be more than 30 days. And then this goes into detail that while the property is in coming soon, no showing status, the seller and listing firm may not promote or advertise the property on the internet in any manner other than as coming soon. So you can put a sign in the yard, but it has to have a rider that says coming soon. You can put it on our Facebook page. You can put it publicly marketing it, but it has to say coming soon. They will not be syndicated. So syndication is the process where the MLS automatically sends listings to Zillow, Realtor.com, many websites out there. A coming soon listing does not get sent until it becomes active. Okay. Other agents can see it, but it does not go out to the public. If the listing agent, or if an agent has a subscription set up, so let's talk about terminology again. A subscription is the automated process that the MLS sends listings that you've created in a search and sends them automatically to a potential client to let them know what's come available. And in our market right now, with everything so competitive, those listings go out as soon as they hit the market. If it's in a coming soon status, it's not going to go out because it's not available for showing yet. So it's not in an active status, so it will not go out through that status or that subscription automated process where it sends those listings to a potential buyer. Number 3 explicitly says a property in coming soon, no showing status may not be shown. People can make an offer on it. The seller can accept an offer. It just cannot be shown. And once you go in, so if a seller accepts an offer, you would have to manually go in and change your coming soon status to active first and then to pending within seconds. And then once you do that, then the property could be shown to that potential buyer. Now, once you take something out of coming soon, you can't put it back in. So let's say your seller accepted an offer from a buyer. It was in the coming soon status. They accepted an offer sight unseen. It went to pending in the MLS. That buyer then went in, looked at the property and said, oh, you know what? I don't want it after all. They still have to pay their due diligence fee. But if they determine they don't want it, you can't put the property back into a coming soon status once it's gone to pending. It would then have to be either put on hold or put in an active status to be ready to be shown. Okay. So again, these are all the do's and don'ts. And then you would have, you would put the property address here, print the seller name, and the seller would sign here and date it. And then you would put your name here, sign here, and date it. And then this whole page is the do's and don'ts. Okay. So please make sure you complete this and it becomes a part of the listing agreement. And it would also need to be uploaded to Command. Okay. We also have a listing status, you might say, that's called Office Exclusive. So I'm going to click on this form because this is also required to become a part of a listing agreement if you take a listing that is Office Exclusive. So what office exclusive means is that no buyer agent would be able to show or sell that property except for someone within the office where that listing agent works. So this became very popular where you're in a market where you have very affluent people, like maybe a professional basketball player or an actor or something like that. And they say, we're hiring you, the listing agent, to sell this property. We don't want anybody else in here other than you. And we're going to pay you and you only. Well, you can't just pay that person because a listing is with the firm, but you can limit it to the people that are in that office where that agent is located. And this would be an office exclusive listing. It still needs to be entered into the MLS following the rules, but it would only be seen by members of that office. So if I took a office exclusive listing, anyone in this market center located on Military Cutoff could see the listing and show it and get a commission, but no one else in the world, in the real estate world, would see it, and it would not be syndicated. So there's no public marketing allowed, and it is not visible by any other of the MLS participants or subscribers who are searching for that type of home. So it limits your choices. Yes. Does the seller really want to do this? Maybe. I've only had a listing like this one time, and it was a lady that was a hoarder, and she had so much stuff in that house. She didn't want anybody in that house but me. I couldn't put a sign out. I could only tell people that I knew about the listing, and I was able to find someone that was in the market of flipping properties that was able to buy it. And that's uh, the only time that I've ever used an office exclusive listing. So is it in the best interest of the seller? Probably not, because it doesn't put them out there where they're competing in the marketplace for the best offer. But to some sellers, they are not as concerned about that, more concerned about not allowing other people into their properties or only wanting you as that agent to sell the property. Okay. All right. Next is, I want to talk a little bit about rules and regulations. This is where you would find them. There are a couple of rules and regs that I really want you to understand, and that is, think about the 3-day rule. So anytime you have a change in a status of a listing, whether you've taken a new listing and it is now active, or you've taken a new listing and it's coming soon, or you've taken a listing that is delayed marketing. We haven't talked about delayed marketing, but we will shortly. You have 3 business days to enter that listing into the MLS. If you don't enter it within those 3 business days, you're going to get a notice of a fine. Now, the first time you do that, the fine will likely be waived. But after that, it's a $50 fine per listing. So please make sure that you enter those listings in a timely manner. If the property goes pending, goes under contract, you need to enter that the status changed to an under contract status from active. You have 3 business days from the time it goes active. It goes under contract to change that status in the MLS. So just remember the 3 business day rule. Now, there's one other rule I want to talk about, and that is the National Association of Realtors came out with another rule that's called the Clear Cooperation Policy. And that policy says that if you market the property, you have 1 business day to put it into the MLS. So that 1 business day would require you to have it in there so other agents can see it before you are taking advantage of that sign in the yard and waiting for people to drive up and down that street for a couple days to get the both sides of the transaction, you might say. So you have one business day if you market the property. Putting a sign in the yard is marketing. Putting it on public Facebook is public marketing. Sending out flyers is public marketing. All of those things consist of publicly marketing that property, which would require you to put it into the MLS within one business day. That's the biggest rule I want you to understand. That's probably the one that people get fined the most. And, you know, 50 bucks is 50 bucks. The other rule I want to mention is that you also must have a picture of the front of the house when you enter a new listing. So I hear a lot of agents that complain that 3 business days or 1 business day isn't enough to take a listing and then get professional pictures done and that kind of thing, and your measurements and all that. Okay, so you could take one snapshot of the front of the house, enter it as a coming soon, put a sign out, put a rider on there that it's coming soon. Once you get your professional pictures and measurements back, you can edit the pictures that are in the listing in the MLS, add all of your nice, pretty pictures, and then it goes live. So that's the solution for that. There's also a status called delayed marketing. So delayed marketing would be one where literally you would not market the house at all, but there's no time limit on that. So delayed marketing allows you to market to put a property under contract, under a listing contract, but you would not publicly market it until the seller was ready to start showing it. So there's no time limit. Let's say someone buys the property and they're going to do major renovations and flip it. You can go ahead and secure that listing agreement with that seller, put it in the MLS as delayed marketing, and it wouldn't be shown for 2 months or 3 months until that property is ready for showing. It still needs to go into the MLS as a delayed marketing listing, but you are the only one that would be able to see it. So don't worry about other agents seeing it and bugging you to death to get into their property and take a look. You would be the only one that would see it in the MLS. But it also means you can't put a sign out. You can't publicly market that property. So that's delayed marketing. Okay, I'm going to show you a little secret. So if you happen to be in the middle of somewhere and all you want to do is get back home to your home page, if you click this blue FLEX MLS logo in the upper left corner, it will take you back to your home page. Okay. All right. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to create hot sheets. So with your system, with the first time that you log in, you're going to have a hot sheet and it doesn't have any other words after hot sheet. So hot sheet is any change in status over the last 24 hours. So until you modify the settings of that hot sheet, it's going to be pulling any status changes of listings in the entire regional MLS. Well, if you're like me, you don't really care about any new listings that exist in Greenville or in Atlantic Beach, because that's not where I sell properties. So I'm going to edit my settings to where it's only pulling information from the counties that I work in. So I'm going to go up here to my 3 little dots in the upper right corner of this gadget. So a hot sheet is in this little box, and each little box is considered a gadget. It performs a different function. So if I click on these 3 little dots, I'm going to go to settings, and I can drill down to a county, a city, a zip code. I can even drill down as far as a subdivision. if you were a new salesperson in Brunswick Forest, for example, and all you cared about was properties in Brunswick Forest because that's all you sold, you may want to create a hot sheet for Brunswick Forest so you can see any resale properties that come up on the market or go pending or go expired, whatever the case might be. So this allows you to do that. So you can select what you want this hot sheet to demonstrate. You can also select your property type. We haven't talked about property types yet. Let's talk about those right now. So you have residential properties, which are homes, basically. Then you have land. You may have a property that has a home on it, but the value is in the land. So you could technically have two listings with the same address. One is a residential listing and one is a land listing. And that's totally allowed if it's different property types. Then you have multifamily. Multifamily is more than one unit and less than 5. So from 1 to 4 units is multifamily. Residential rental, those are properties that are available for rent, not for sale. I don't really care about rentals in my hot sheet, so I've selected residential only. I also have boat slips, and you might say a boat slip. Well, yes, a boat slip, if it has a deed, it can be listed into the MLS and sold. And then you have your fractional ownership and your timeshares, and then you have commercial. Okay, so I've selected residential. That's what I want my hot sheet to pull. Then I'm going to hit the save button. And at the top here, it tells me what this is pulling. So if I put my cursor over it, it says, click here to go to hot sheet for County of New Hanover, property type of residential. That's what it's pulling. I've also created additional hot sheets. Your dashboard will come with one hot sheet gadget, but you can have as many as you'd like. So I have one for New Hanover, I have one for Brunswick, and I also have one for Pender counties because those are the 3 counties that I work in the most. So I would go here to customize, click on that little arrow and go to add gadget. Hot sheet is a daily function. So I'm going to go down here to daily, click on that. And then I would go here to hot sheet. It's saying, hey, there's already one there. Well, yeah, I know. I just want another one. So I would hit add another. And it would add another hot sheet for me. Now that hot sheet would be pulling for the entire region as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is go here to my 3 little dots, change my settings, and this one is pulling Brunswick County and residential. So I would select what I wanted it to pull, hit save, and there's my hot sheet for Brunswick. Then I would go through the same process and create one for Pender. You can create one for cities. You can do zip codes, however you'd like. I even have one down here that's for Brunswick. I mean, for Onslow County, which is Jacksonville. As you add gadgets, they get pushed to the bottom of the page, and you can rearrange these simply by clicking it and dragging it all around, and it would make a change in the way that your page was laid out. So you can move these boxes anywhere you want. Okay. The next thing we're going to look at is a search. So most people that get the MLS, the first thing they want to do is be able to search for properties. So we're going to use this quick search button. We're going to go under quick search. And this is a template that the FLEX system has created for you. You can modify that template and name it something different. It's up to you, but we're not going to go through that in today's class. So up here at the top, it says view results. There are the status that it automatically pulls are active and pending with showings. and it tells me there are 4,892 listings in residential property type that are either active or pending with showings. Well, the first thing I'm going to change is if I know someone is looking right now for a property, they don't have time to wait to see if something falls through. So I'm going to select just active listings. So that's gone from 4,300 to 2,740. All right. Then I'm going to select my price. So let's say I have a buyer that's looking for something between $175,000 and $250,000. So I'm going to enter my low end number and my high end number, $250,000. Okay. That cut it way down because that's what's available in our market to 391. Then I go to my subtype. So a subtype, we have 4 in the residential property type. We have a condominium, a manufactured home, a single family residence, or a townhouse. So you may remember from real estate school that ownership, it determines what kind of subtype it is. So a condominium is one where the person owns a unit in a complex or building, and they own from the outside walls in and everything on the inside. That's what they own. If there are 100 units in that complex, they also own a 1/100th interest in that entire complex for all of the common areas. So they don't own the roof, they don't own the walkway, they don't own the yard. They own an interest in that yard, and it depends on how many units are in the complex as to how much ownership they have. A townhouse, however, you own the unit plus you own the dirt that the unit sits on. So you may even have a little bit of a backyard that you could fence in, or that is just belongs to you, but you actually have own dirt under the unit that you own. A manufactured home is a double wide, a triple wide, a single wide. Those are manufactured homes. They are built to FHA guidelines. That's the difference between a manufactured home and a modular home. You may hear those terms. A modular home is built to North Carolina Building Code. A manufactured home is built to FHA standards. So it makes a big difference because of financing. So not all loan products will support a manufactured home. That's a class for another day. We're not going to get into a lot of that, but if you have the opportunity to list one, or that you have a buyer that's interested in it, please call me ahead of time and let's look at it together. And then finally, you have a single family residence, which is a standalone property. So my folks are interested in a single family residence. They need a minimum of 2 bedrooms, no more than 3. And then the next one on my template is the number of total baths. So number of total baths means how many full baths plus half baths. So I may have a half bath in the master bedroom, but it's going to have, so the number here would be 2 because I have a full bath in the hallway and a half bath in the master. Well, maybe my client wants 2 full bathrooms. Well, that's not on my template. So if I go down here to my green plus sign and I click on this plus sign, I can start typing full, and here are my full baths. So I can click on that, go down here, and my buyer says I got to have at least 2 full bathrooms. So I would add that to my template. Okay. The next thing is where they want to be. So do I want to be in a specific zip code? Do I want to be in a specific county, a town, a subdivision? I can narrow it down all the way down to that. So let's just say they want to be anywhere in New Hanover County. So I click on the county and I start typing. And as it pulls it up, I can hit my return button and there's my New Hanover County. So there are only 10 single family homes between 2 and 3 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms in New Hanover County. So if I go here to view results, click on that. Here are my results. I have one here on Blue Clay Road. That's a new listing. I have one on Wooster Street. I have one in Alamosa Place. I have one in Sapling Circle, etc., etc. So these are my 10 that I have. Now, if I want to create a subscription where these listings as a property comes available in this search criteria, it automatically would go to the client. Then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to save it. So I'm saving my search. And I'm going to call my search. I usually name it after the client that I'm creating it for. So let's say Mary Johnson. Okay, this is a new search. And then it allows you to assign it to a contact. So if I don't change anything, it's not going to assign it to a contact. So I'm going to go to new and I'm going to create a contact named Mary Johnson. And then I'm going to go and enter her email address. Whatever that might be. And then I'm going to go down here and say save and add subscription. So this is my subscription box. So I'm going to make choices here. So the first thing, it has the name of the subscription. And then it asks, who do you want notifications to go to? Well, I definitely want them to go to the selected contact, but do you want to get a notification if a new listing comes about that is being sent to Mary? And you may. If you only have 1 or 2 clients that you've created a subscription for, you may want to know when the system sends them an email. But if you have 20 people that you've created searches for and they're constantly sending them messages, you may not want to be bombarded with all those emails. So make your choice. If you want to get an email when a new listing goes to Mary, you would click this button. If you only want the email when she opens it or when she looks at it, then you would click that button. There's also an enable preview mode. So enabling the preview mode allows you to see the property first, and then you can approve it for Mary. So maybe Mary's looking for something that has just a specific look to it, or something that's not easy to put in the search criteria, that you have to see it to know if it would be right for Mary. Then you might want to enable this preview mode, and you would then get an email when a listing met the criteria, and then you would have to approve it in order for it to be sent to Mary. Then you have the ability to add another contact. Well, maybe Mary says, could you add my husband, John Johnson, so he also receives the listings that are being sent. So I could go right here and add the new contact. I could add her spouse or boyfriend or whatever, and put that in there. And then the subscription would be set up for both parties, where the emails would go to both of them. The next section is the schedule. So when do you want the listings to be sent? Well, if they're actively looking, you're going to want to select ASAP. Maybe the contact says, you know, I'm not coming to Wilmington until the fall, but I'd just like to get an idea of what your market has. And I work Monday through Friday, so I really don't have time to look at properties until the weekend. So if you could just send them on Saturdays. So I can go here to clear my days, hit Saturday, and then listings would be sent every Saturday to that client that meets that criteria. You also might have someone that says, you know, you don't need to send them all the time. Just send them to me once a month. And then you can click that monthly and what day of the month it goes. But for our purposes, we're going to select the ASAP. Then it asks what view you want it to be sent. Well, they're residential properties, so I'm going to select residential. And then this is my email content. So when the system automatically sends a listing to Mary, what do you want the email to say? So what's the subject? It might be new listing for you. And then you type whatever you'd like. So here is a new listing that might meet your needs. Let me know if you would like to see it. And then I could hit save. Okay, so now it says, do you want to email all of these listings to Mary now? Do you want to specifically select certain ones to go to Mary, or do you not want to do anything now? So if I go to email these listings now, it's going to go to my email page. It's going to Mary. I might say first set of listings. So this is the first time that I've sent her something. And then it has my contact information and my business card profile stuff down here. It's also going to start at my start position would be photos. And I'm going to show you why that's important. If I look at my branding, it's my generic business card and it'd be orientated on the left and my background color is purple. So I'm going to preview this to show you what that looks like. So this is the email. When she clicks on the link, this is what she's going to see. She's going to see the first listing at the top with the picture. So it's not all the words of a report, it's the picture first, and then she can go here to the detail and see the detail about that listing. Okay. And then here's my information. It goes down the left side and the background is purple. Okay, I'm going to close this preview and then I can show you how I can make changes. So let's say I decide I want my information to be on the right side. I'm going to preview this. And then I have my information down the right side now. My list of listings is down the left, and then it opens to the photo of the first picture right here. Okay, so that's how you can set that up. I'm going to give you all a brief moment to kind of take all this in. I've got to get my charger and plug in my computer or we won't continue this class. Okay, so this is our subscription that we're sending to Mary Johnson. So now I'm going to return to my search results. Here are these listings, and I'm done. So let's say I want to specifically call out this listing, and this listing. If I go up here to save, I'm going to hit the save button. And now I have two choices here. I can hit save my search, which is saving the search criteria, or save my selected. So if I choose to save my selected, it's choosing these three listings that I have put this check mark up on. Okay, if I select this one, save selected as, it's going to save it as a collection. So no matter what happens to this, the status changes, it goes off the market, it gets sold, it goes under contract, whatever the case might be, it will always save these three listings. So I can call it anything I want. I'll just call them Mary's Favorites. And then I hit save. Now, where am I going to find those? I can go right here to my selected, and it just shows those three listings, but I can also go up here to my menu button. And when I click on menu over here to the right are all the searched categories. And one of those is listing collections. So if I select listing collections, I can look down here, it's in alphabetical order, and I can go right to Mary's Favorites. And then if I select that, here are the three listings that I had saved as Mary's Favorites. So it allows you to do that as well. So if I save my search, I go back here to menu and then go to saved searches. There's Mary Johnson right there at the top. And this is the search criteria. So let's say a listing goes under contract. It doesn't meet the criteria that I've set up anymore, right? So it wouldn't necessarily be included in the search. Now, if I have a property that my search criteria went up to $250,000, let's say there's a property that gets reduced, the price gets reduced from 255 to 250. Now it meets the criteria, right? So now it's part of my search criteria and it's going to get sent to Mary because the price changed to now meet the criteria that I've set in my search. So that's the main difference. Saving a search, you're saving the criteria. Saving a collection is saving that actual listing. Those are the differences. Okay. The other thing I want to show you now is the market stats page. So if I go down here to my home button on the upper left and click on that arrow, I've got a market stats dashboard. So this shows me the market stats for the region until I change my settings, just like I did with a hot sheet. I go up here to my three little dots. I have an absorption rate. I have sold days on market. I have price for prices. I have sale to original list price. I have volume. I have inventory. I have all these different statistics that the system can generate. But what I am going to do is I'm going to set my criteria or my settings by clicking on these three little buttons, hit settings, and now it allows me to pull the absorption rate for whatever section I want and whatever property type I want. So for this particular one, I selected New Hanover County and I have a residential for my property type. So this gives me the absorption rate. Absorption rate is the number of months of inventory that are currently on the market. So a balanced buyer and seller market is about 6 months worth of inventory. Right now, if you look at this absorption rate for New Hanover County, in June of 2021, we were just at 1 month's worth of inventory. So it's a pretty strong seller's market. The same with Pender County. So I went here to customize my dashboard, add a gadget, and I go down here to my statistics, and here are all the different statistics I can pull. So I added an absorption rate. So now I have 2. Click on add another, return to the dashboard, and now I can go to my upper little dots here, go to my settings, and here I've selected Pender County Residential. Hit save. And I also have one for Brunswick, which I've already done that. So this shows me that in June or July of 2020, my absorption rate for Pender County was just under 4 months. In June of 2021, it's gone down to 1 month. And it's 1 month across the board if you look at all 3 counties. And the graphs are pretty much consistent. It started around 4 months and it's whittled down to 1 month over the last year. The same with our sold number of days on market. You can see days on market has drastically dropped from June of 2020 or July of 2020. It was just under 50. And now it's right around 20, 22.8. That's scary, isn't it? Okay. So I also have prices, and you might say, well, how can I share this with a client? You can do a screenshot. Not everybody is into statistics, but you may have a client that really wants to know what this looks like. This is a good story to tell a seller when you're going to list a property. It's also a good story to tell a buyer so they don't try to lowball every listing that they want to make an offer on, because they're probably not going to get it. Here's our prices. So we have active median list price, sold median list price, and new median list price. So these are new listings, these are active listings, and these are sold. So if you look at new listings, the prices are quite a bit higher than the active and the sold. So those are our statistics. I'm going to click on my FLEX MLS logo, and that's going to take me back to my home dashboard. Now I'm going to show you how to modify your profile. So if I go up here to my initials, JMW, and I click on that little arrow, you can go here to my profile. And if you haven't set this up yet, this is a prime example or a prime time to set your personal picture, your photo. So if you click here, you'll see I already have mine in here and I named it Jody. Right? So in order for you to do that, you're going to hit new. You would go here to choose file, and you would find the photo on your desktop or on your computer somewhere, and then click the add button, and then you can position it however you want. I don't want to save my changes, so I'm going to go escape. You can also put a logo in there. Then I can also do a quick profile maintenance. So if I click on that, anything that's grayed out, I'm not allowed to change from the system. My email address is set up with the Cape Fear Realtor Association. So if I want to change my master email, I have to call them and they have to do it on their end. And then it effectively will change it here in FLEX. Same with my phone number, my website, and my license number. I can add a marketing name here. Maybe your name is William, but you go by Billy. So your marketing name would be Billy Jones instead of William Jones. If you speak any foreign languages, it would be good if you would put them here. That's a great source of referrals. So maybe you speak Chinese. I don't speak Chinese, but I may have a past client that works at GE or Corning, and they call and say, hey, I have a buyer, someone moving here with the company that wants to buy a home, but they need an agent that speaks Chinese. Do you know someone? Well, I can go and search for an agent has languages spoken is Chinese. I can send them a referral, get 25% of that, and I don't have to do any work with that client. And that client will be happy because they have someone that can speak their language. Then there's a section you can type in your bio. So you can put whatever you'd like in here about yourself, and people can see that on the web or in third-party syndication to learn more about you. Okay, so then I'm going to hit my save button, and I've updated my profile. Now I'm going to click on my FLEX MLS logo, take me back to my home page. The last thing I want to show you is this search bar. So this is called the launch bar. It has a search icon in here, and it allows you to enter anything in here, and it will search the system for you. So if I click on here, it's also going to show me some of the recent searches that I did. So if I just put my cursor in and click it one time, it's going to show me what I've selected or what I've searched for over the last month. And then it shows also some quick launch history down here. So let's say I'm looking for a particular property. I'll put my home address in here. If I type in this, it's going to show me all of the last times this property was listed. So it was listed here and expired, listed here and expired, listed here and expired. And then it has a closed listing here and a closed listing here. It goes in order of how old, the oldest are down here at the bottom for the expired, and then it goes to the closed that are oldest to the newest. So if I click on this, I can click here and it will change this page, or I can go over here to new tab. And if I click that, it will open it in a new window. I haven't lost my place where I was before, but I can look at this listing in my new window. Okay. And here you can see that this was a lot that was listed. It sold on the 10th of December. No, sorry, the 7th of December in 2012 for $73,000. And here's the listing member and me as the selling member. Okay. So if I go back to my home, I can go here also, and maybe I'm looking for an agent. So maybe you say, oh, I got to call Jody and ask her for some help on something. How do I find her? If I just go up here to my search bar or my launch bar and type in Jody, here is a list of Jodys. Well, it's not enough, so I need to continue to type. And then here's me. So if I click on my name, here is my contact information. So it shows designations, what office I work at, where my address is, the office address, my mobile phone, my home phone, my office phone, my email address, the website, and then my license numbers. So when you're completing an offer to purchase and that last page, second to last page has the listing agent name and the selling agent name, there's no excuse for you not to fill that out with license numbers, because this is how you can find it right here. Okay. So that basically goes over the basics of FLEX MLS. I would encourage you to participate in an active class. I will be teaching those once a month in the team room only. It will not be Zoomed. It will be on in person only until COVID changes that again, of course. Hopefully not. Otherwise, you will receive a link to take this class, and this certainly helps you. You can also go up here to the help button and you can find other video trainings. There's FLEX MLS Academy and a lot of other resources here for training. You can also contact support. So we have support Monday through Friday that you can call and say, hey, how do you do this? Or I can't make this happen, or I'm having trouble with my account. Contact support. They are awesome. But we do not have support on the weekends. So with that, I'm going to stop my share, and good luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you in an in-person class. Thank you very much.